Okay, so this type of thing has been happening all summer, but
People talking about me?
Oh my gosh.
No?
Maybe,
Okay.
perhaps. Most likely, yes. Okay. So if you're not talking about Al, most likely, and this is an important issue, you may have been have an opinion about this, probably at the dinner table. We're going to talk about it. So it's, for instance, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis flew at least 2 planes of migrants, including children, to Martha's Vineyard. Some of them were reportedly misled about where they were being sent and were told they were going to Boston. Well, they weren't. A local parish helped house them, setting up cots. The flights actually originated in San Antonio, Texas, not from Florida. Now, meantime, Texas Governor Greg Abbott sent 2 busloads of migrants to D.C., with them arriving just outside of Vice President Kamala Harris's home. So as I mentioned, all summer long, people have been talking about this. Republican governors in Texas and Arizona have been sending migrants to Democrat-run cities like D.C., New York, Chicago, costing millions of dollars. It's in response to what they say are their states being, quote-unquote, overrun. But DBL Nation, we always want to hear from you. Let's have this very polarizing conversation. Is it okay to send migrants from border states to the rest of America? Yes or no? Go to dblvote.com to weigh in. Al, what would you say?
I'm surprised we're doing this now. I mean, it would be interesting. How would this have worked out if these were Ukrainian migrants? If these were people that were desperate? If these are people that are leaving war-torn countries? Because that's why they're here, because where they are. I always think about this, what would it take? They always talk about the migrant caravans walking here. What would it take, Jeff, for you and Jordan as parents to have to make the decision that we're going to walk 1,000 miles with Layton and Lawson? Like, what would have to be going on in your neighborhood? Have you ever walked with your kid? Have you ever carried your kid like through the mall? It's impossible. So what would have to be going on? There'd have to be life or death circumstances, and those life or death circumstances are happening because there are drug wars going on, because they are trying to get the drugs here. We have the cocaine problem in this country. They make the cocaine. There's a profit margin there, and that's where the wars are coming from. It is our fault. If we got ourselves together and stopped letting all those go up our nose and start taking all these opioids, that would die down too. That's why we're seeing all this. It's because we are the addicts and they are fighting to get the drugs to us. This is our fault from beginning to end. A true American
And when you
problem.
say they, I just want to clarify, you're saying the countries or drug dealers, not the asylum seekers, the migrants.
When you watch Narcos and there's 40 18-wheelers full of cocaine and they come back empty in 2 hours to refill, where'd that go? It's here. Every day they cannot keep up. It's our fault, period.
But something needs to be done, right?
Yes.
For sure, something needs to be done. Let me just say, I don't like anyone going to anybody's house. Justices, any person, I don't like that,
they did
okay?
that in Michigan.
I don't like that at all. That's their sanctuary. There are people, they do have families. That's off limits to me. I can't stand it. That's what this is, political theater. There needs to be something done. Nobody's looking, nobody's helping out, right? That's why it's like a child, right? With an outburst. I'm 5 years old, you better look at me. That's what they're doing. They're sending people to Kamala's house to try to get people to look at it. But going back to the issue at hand, 100,000 people, Al, 100,000 kids overdose on fentanyl. It's coming from our borders, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it has to do with the migrants, but it's easier with what we're doing right now to get that stuff in here. We need to control it. Texas shouldn't take on all the brunt of that, Arizona, whatever it is. I'm not opposed to distributing it, not specific to people's houses or blue states or whatever, but they can't absorb all that. It's just impossible to absorb millions of people coming into someone's state. You got to absorb that somehow. And if us as the United States, not as a state, not as red, not as blue, need to figure this out and kind of redistribute where these people go.
And I'm glad you said that, and Eric, I want to hear what you said. But yes, we do not live in a border city. So the people that do live in border cities do have concerns that are very valid, that I can only hypothesize about. So I appreciate you saying that. I have a different perspective. So please, I'm sorry, Erica.
Yeah, we don't live in a border city. We do live in a sanctuary city. I find this to be very interesting timing because, as we know, we have a massive work shortage. And generally, when we talk about migrants, the big thing is, well, they're coming here and taking our jobs. Well, we can't seem to get enough labor in this country. And it's an interesting time for that. So much to Jeff's point earlier, like if we're working together as a country saying there is a problem, here are solutions, clearly no one can stand up and truly say, and they will, but with their whole chest and mean it seriously, that someone's taking their jobs when there are for hire signs everywhere. When fast food restaurants are offering $20 to $22 an hour in order to get the labor back in those restaurants. We have a labor shortage. We have people who are seeking asylum. They're looking for a better way to live. Yes, let's disperse. Let's work together as a country for once.
And we've seen this before. There's precedent. Go back and watch that movie, Gangs in New York. We saw the same kind of rhetoric that we see now. The Irish and the Italians are here to take our jobs and take our women. That's what that entire movie was about. Anytime we introduce a new group of people into a place that was already established, it's the same rhetoric. These migrants are here to take our job. They're not used to our way of life, and they're going to destroy what we know. But last I checked, Jeff, how did the Irish and the Italians, it seemed okay? It seemed like you guys...
Yeah, I mean, my mother came here over from Italy, right? If you watched my very famous Get to Know Jeff story. Trying to make light of this whole situation. But yeah, I mean, people come here, but in the right ways, right? I feel like it's getting out of control a little bit. We need to control the border a little bit more. Like I said, I'm going to repeat, they can't absorb that. Arizona can't absorb that. Texas can't absorb millions of people coming in at the speed they're coming in, as well as the drugs coming in. They need to control it somewhat. Yes, we are an open border country. Come on in. You know, my mother, like I said, well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mother not coming over, my grandfather coming over. But we need to control it in some capacity.
And I just love that we're having a conversation looking at it from all angles, but with compassion.
Right.
I think that's the one thing that I hope everybody can take away from this, whether you agree or whether you disagree. Remember that these are human beings seeking asylum. And I just want, even if you're on the complete different side of whatever your point of view is, or my point of view is, or yours, I want it to be compassionate. We can have these difficult conversations and still treat people with respect.
Right.
And a lot of those people could be you and me.
Right. And a lot of those
Easily.
people that come over here in that condition, if you showed these people love and allowed them to set up and start a new life here from a place that they were scared to death to leave, how hard would they work? How proud would they be to say that they're from this country? The people that come with the least are ready to dig in. I'd rather have some migrants working for me in whatever capacity than probably a lot of college students that are high and kicking it and looking for their next thing. A lot of college students are high. Let's be honest.
I was never high.
Everybody's high. It's legal in most places now.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at the final vote.
I stand by that.
It's true.
Looks like 60% of you say, is it okay to send migrants from border states to the rest of America? 60% of you say yes. 40% of you say no. Thank you for voting. We always love hearing what you have to say.